All right. Let's see. Everyone starts to come in a little bit. Hello, everyone. I'll do intros a little bit later, but we're going to give everyone just a few seconds to start to roll into this grand old session that we've got slated for you guys. But as we're waiting, I'd love to see what was one thing that just took way too much of your attention this week. For me, it was the cold front that we got. I live in Texas. We've been getting this cold front for like 2 weeks now, right? Amber, I think you're up in like Dallas area, right?
Yes, it was super cold in the Dallas area, but I'm ready for the warm weather to come back.
I'm ready to, but like the one thing that took a lot of my attention was apparently these cold fronts make pollen just 10 times worse, which for me,
Hmm.
like I've got seasonal allergies. It's absolutely terrible. So if you hear me sniffling on this call, that is why. So please, if there's anything else that has taken up your attention, I don't know, Sydney, Amber, has anything else taken up a lot of your attention over the past week or so? This has just been terrible for like my allergies and stuff.
I was traveling over the weekend, so the travel delays took up a little extra energy than usual.
Fair, fair. Amber?
Yeah, same here. I think just having the cold weather and the ice and the snow just threw off my whole schedule and my routines. So it's been crazy.
I love it. I love it. I'm looking at all these comments and there's a lot of people in Texas that were cold with us, Amber. There's a lot of people in Florida. I just moved from Orlando, Florida, and they've been getting a bunch of like freezing temperatures as well. So feel you there. And I've got a lot of friends and family up in like the Northeast and they got dumped with snow. So I'm seeing a lot of these comments. 22 inches in Rhode Island. That's absolutely insane, Katie. Um, but yeah, I think Oh wow, there's a heat wave up in North Dakota. Oh, of 4 degrees. Got a little ahead of myself there. But all right. So now that everyone has gotten into the room, I just want to say hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inside the Student Search What Works and What Doesn't panel. We'll be diving into all things job search. And most importantly, I've got two amazing students that you'll be hearing from on this panel today. So before we dive into it, I would love for Amber and Sydney to share just a little bit about yourselves so that we can get a little bit insight into where you're both coming from. We'll start with Amber first.
Hey everyone, my name is Amber. As you can see, I'm a senior at the University of North Texas. I'm studying marketing and I'm super excited to graduate in May. I've actually had several different internships throughout my time in college, all of which I found on Handshake. But I
Mhm.
would say those internships really helped me narrow down what I enjoy, which is digital marketing and communications. Most recently, I actually interned at Hilton, and now I work there as a communication specialist in the reservations and customer care department. But I'm super excited to be here and just share some insights with you guys.
Hey,
Love
so
that. And how about you, Sydney?
I'm Sydney. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, Justin. I'm a grad student at the University of Alabama, and I'm studying geography and food systems. I also did my bachelor's here in geography at Alabama, and I have a pretty diverse background. I did agricultural research. I was a beekeeper for 2 years. And I've done different internships with GIS and again with agriculture with farmers. And I'm currently working on spatial analysis to kind of expand food access in Alabama. That's my thesis research. And I'm hoping that I can kind of get experience with that as well in my career going forward. And I've worked with Handshake. Yeah, I've been on Handshake for many, many years, and it's been great. So I'm super excited to be here and talk to you guys today.
Amazing. I love that. And again, as you can all see, there's a reason why we chose both Amber and Sydney. You've got such a diverse sort of mindset between the two of them, right? We've got undergrad, we've got graduate student, we've got everything from business as well as all the way to the farms of the world. And with that, just kind of like our attention spans that we're accused of having as Gen Z, I want to keep this session short and sweet, right? So I'm going to stop talking so we can hear more from the both of you. Sydney, we're going to start with you. As a grad student, when you're reading a job description, what tends to raise a red flag for you?
Sorry, could you repeat that first part? It cut out on my end.
Oh, no, you're good. As a grad student, when you're reading a job description, is there anything that tends to raise a red flag for you?
I think when I'm looking at grad positions, positions that are aimed at entry level or new grads, when they expect 3 years of experience, and the title or the salary doesn't reflect that, it kind of confuses me as to what the company may be looking for. Because I see entry level and I expect, minimal experience. And I think I see less of that nowadays. And I usually apply anyways and see what happens. But um, it just, when it's not as clarifying, I'm a little bit more wary of what they're expecting.
I get that. I get that. The good old years of experience on a job description. My advice: apply anyway. Right. The worst that they can say is no. Amber, how about you? After hearing all that, does any of that resonate to you right now as a senior, or is there anything different that you're noticing as a undergrad?
I think that definitely resonates with me. When you're applying for entry level jobs, but then you see they want 3 or 4 years experience, you kind of think, hey, that may not necessarily be entry level. But one of the red flags I also first notice is kind of just the level of care put into a job posting itself. I'm sending a polished resume and cover letter, so I expect the job description to be clearly organized and free of typos or inconsistencies. And when a posting is well written and thoughtful, really kind of explaining what I'm going to be doing day to day in my job, it just shows me that the company values attention to detail and is genuinely interested in hiring the right person for the job.
I love that. I love that. And I see a bunch of comments going on in the chat right now, which is amazing. I'm living my dream as a streamer right now, right? Like talking to you both, talking to chat at the same time. And I just want to remind everyone, if you do have any great comments, please drop it into the chat, as well as if you have any questions, we'll have someone monitoring the chat as well. So we can, if we do have some time at the end, we can answer some of those. So moving on to the next question is, you both have had an opportunity to have both jobs and internships while in college, right? Is there something that you've seen that a company does during the hiring process where it just kind of clicks something in the back of your brain of like, this company gets it? And we can start with you, Amber.
For me, I would say it's transparency, especially around timelines. I usually ask my interviewer what the next steps are going to be and when I should expect to hear back from them. So when a company clearly communicates that and follows through, it immediately stands out to me. And even if that answer back is no, still sticking to their word and responding when they said they were going to really shows me that they respect my time and understand what the interview process feels like on the other side. So even if it is no, just knowing that they followed up on what they said is really going to influence me to maybe apply for a different position if one ever does come up in the future.
Yeah, something I definitely agree with you, Amber, too. The transparency and the timeline part, when they really follow through, is critical. And I would say something that shows me that a company kind of understands things a bit more is actually the questions they ask in the interview. If I go to an interview and they're asking me the standard, tell me about yourself, what is your experience with this? And it's not really digging deeper, I'm a little more put off. Whereas I've had interviews where they ask me really unique questions, or just questions that are specific to their role. And I can tell that they know what they want out of a candidate. And I'm always happy to provide a direct answer to those questions. So the interview process really shows me whether they understand where I'm coming from or not. And those questions are a super important part in that.
I love that. Is there, and this is a question for the both of you, is there a question that you've heard or been asked before where you're just like, oh, this was a great question. I remember this for years to come or whatever it may be?
Um, I would say so. I was interviewing for this summer education program thing where I was actually going to be like basically a counselor, but there was some traveling involved, and they actually asked me about the worst travel experience I've ever had and how I handled it. And it was relevant to the position, but it's just something that I had not anticipated having to talk about. So I had to take a second and think about it. And this was a kind of unique role, not something that I would be um, doing all the time, but they wanted to know if I could handle bad situations when it comes to travel and dealing with the group. And that really stuck with me, I think.
I love that. How about you, Amber?
There was one question I got when I was interviewing for more of a sports marketing position, and the question was if you could pick any three celebrities to be in a marketing campaign, who would they be and why? And that question, it really caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting it at all, but I really liked it because it allowed me to show some more of my creative thinking and for them to really get an idea of what I could bring to the table when it came to ideas and just creativity that I feel like a lot of your standard interview questions wouldn't have necessarily got.
Yeah, I love both of those questions, right? Because they both subtly tie into the industry that you were kind of planning on, or at least interviewing for. But it adds a unique twist to it, right? And the question that I like to ask, because I really like to see people's sort of ability to do research and like where their mindset comes from. I love asking people what is like a subreddit that you're obsessed with. And if they can give me like a real interesting answer, I'm like, yeah, this person gets it. This is like super niche. They're going super deep into this one little subject. And I know that they really have the right mindset when it comes around like research and things of that nature, right? So I love the both of the questions that you shared. Um, for the next question that I've got is, it's February, heading into spring recruiting season. Career fairs at most universities are starting to take place soon. What are some things that you've seen companies do either before or during a career fair that really catch your eye? And Sydney, we'll start with you.
I would say before career fair, like making it known on campus that they're going to be there. And whether that even is just through email campaigns or a physical presence on campus, going to the University of Alabama, obviously we have a pretty big size student body, and there's a lot of people to reach. So I think having events on campus beforehand, even where I can go and say, hey, tell me about your company and I can learn about you, especially if it's a smaller company that I'm not as familiar with, versus something like Microsoft that's much bigger. It makes me want to come up to you at a career fair, and I kind of would already have a leg up in that sense because I know what you're about and I'm interested in you. So, let's get to talking basically.
Love that. And Amber, what about you? Like, do you have a specific approach when you're walking into a career fair and like trying to figure out which company to choose from?
Yeah, I would say one thing that really stands out to me when I'm at the career fairs is when at the table they actually have alumni from my university who work at the company there, sharing what they love about the company, why it's going to be a great place to work. It immediately gives me sort of a natural connection and makes the conversation feel more genuine, and just seeing someone who came from my school and is now thriving at the company kind of reassures me that, they really recruit from and want to invest in students from my university.
Amazing. And I'm going to go super left field with this next question to kind of go a little bit deeper into this, putting both of you on the spot here. Let's just say you're a company, right? And they're trying to get in front of you. Maybe they don't have money necessarily for like running Instagram ad campaigns to get their brand in front of you, or maybe they don't even know what your email is, right? To be able to reach out to you. But what they do have is the ability to go onto campus and give out something before, let's call it a week before the career fair happens. Is there a product, something small where you're like, if this was given out to me for free by a random company, I'm going to remember this company so that the following week when this career fair happens, I need to go and talk to them?
Yeah, I would say things this is a little broad, but things that are more practical, like when Handshake, when you guys gave out a wall of water bottles, like that is such a big thing. That is something I use every day. That is a big ask. Wallas are definitely a more a little out there, but just something I don't necessarily care for the stress ball or a notepad because I have those things. So maybe if there's something unique to your company, or I'll give you an example. A Some car brand was on campus, and they worked with Jeeps, and they had a Jeep on campus, but they were giving away the ducks that you see on the Jeeps. And maybe that's not as practical, but it really tied into their brand, and I'll never forget that. So something as simple as, you a little memento for your brand, I would prefer over a stress ball or a pen.
I definitely agree. We can get so many pens, tote bags, even from companies that we may never use, but something that we actually will appreciate and benefit from over and over is way more impactful for us. I know, let's say, for example, if your company sells food, even just bringing a bag of chips or something like that, that will really encourage students to go up and grab them and just kind of remember you. So that way, when they do go by your table at the career fair, they'll be like, hey, you gave me a free bag of chips. It wasn't anything big, but it did still stand out to me. And I want to come talk to you again.
Yeah, I think just like finding ways to have fun with it, right? Like I would love to see company branded tech decks. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the little skateboards, right? Like it's just so random, but I feel like if I found a small or like a branded tech deck, I'd probably keep that with me because again, I don't have many of those, right? Just laying around. Um, Now, the last time that I did a talk with Handshake, I kind of found this stat where, ironically, the average Gen Z spends 6, 7 hours on their phone. Again, realistic stat, I swear to God, but they spend 6 to 7 hours a day on their phone. When we're thinking about job opportunities out there, are we looking at these job descriptions on our phone typically, or are you going with your laptop first?
I mainly look at job postings on my laptop. If I'm casually browsing or have downtime, I might scroll through Handshake looking at jobs on my phone and then save ones that I might be interested in. But when it comes to actually doing a deep dive search or actually applying, I always switch to my laptop so I can read everything more carefully and just be more intentional with my application.
I would say a little bit of both. I have Handshake and LinkedIn on my phone, um, and I'm definitely above average in the 6 to 7 hours a day sort of category. So I have different job notifications set up on both of those apps. So I'll definitely look at them on my phone and interact with the feed and all of those things. But I will also, yeah, apply on my laptop and save them for later on my phone and do the deep dive on my laptop. But I wouldn't necessarily say for me that there's one um, that is stronger than the other. I'm just online so much as it is. Either way, I'll probably see the job postings.
Gotcha. Amazing. This is a fun topic for me. Job flexibility. Amber, at this stage, how important is flexibility for you in a job? Things like working remotely, your schedule, things like that.
Yeah, so throughout all my internships and jobs I've had, I've pretty much only worked either hybrid or fully remote. So flexibility in that aspect is super important to me just because I know how it allows me to be more productive and intentional with my time. Not commuting to the office every day really does save me a lot of time that I can then instead use to invest in myself professionally or personally, which at the end of the day just makes me a more effective employee when it is time to work. So I value companies that do still let you go into the office, but having a few remote work days, a few days a week really shows that the company trusts us and values our work-life balance.
And what about you, Sydney?
Um, I would say that it's not just about the remote work for me. I'm somebody that doesn't mind going into the office. I like that little bit of socialization, and just getting to kind of really get to know people a little bit more personally, since sometimes that is lacking in the remote world. Um, but when it comes to jobs that I'm looking at, I'm also not only considering the hybrid environment, but different policies such as PTO, what are your maternity leave options, and just overall how much do you invest in your employees in that sense? Because I think it tells me how much you see me as a person with a life rather than just a worker that you have to give so much time off to. I know I'm not necessarily looking for a specific policy, I guess. It doesn't have to be the unlimited PTO, but just really how are you valuing your employees? How's that reflect in your policies?
Amazing. So things less about like having a cookie cutter sort of policy, so to say, but kind of feeling like they put some effort into it
Yeah.
and looking at you as, again, I think you said it perfectly, Sydney, like people rather than a cog in the machine, essentially, right? And like, oh my God, we have to give this
Mhm.
cog a little time off, right, for this thing. So I love it. I love both of that perspectives there. We're going to change gears a little bit for the both of you when it comes to AI hype. Is this something that's underrated or overrated?
I would say it's a little overrated, at least in my field. I know it's not the same across the industries. I just don't think I need an AI assistant for every app and every Google search I'm doing. Um, we do use it a little bit on the research side, but it's less of ChatGPT and more machine learning and coding. So um, I think it's a little overrated, but I understand the need for it.
Yeah, I also think it is just a little bit overrated. It is helpful, especially, maybe for repetitive tasks, but I feel like it's most valuable when treated as a tool, not necessarily a replacement for doing something. A lot of companies now are using AI, so what matters to me is just how they're actually using it, whether they're training and helping employees work smarter or just jumping on the trend because everybody else is doing it.
Amazing. In the corporate world, it seems almost impossible, right, to escape this conversation around AI. But what about you and all your friends in school? Like Amber, are you seeing your friends using AI for schoolwork or anything professionally related at all?
Yes, I definitely see my friends using AI both for school and professional things. For school, most people use it kind of to brainstorm ideas, outline projects, help with studying or clarifying concepts. But professionally, I see more people use AI to help with things like resume wording, interview prep, or organizing their thoughts more clearly. I know I've used AI to help me prepare for interviews and just anticipate questions that the interviewer may ask me.
And how about
Yeah.
you, Sydney? Are people in your are people in your circle using it at all?
Yeah, I would definitely say there is a little bit of use for schoolwork, like Amber said, outlining projects and almost brainstorming when it comes to papers or anything like that. I would say at least the people close to me aren't using it as a casual thing, if that makes sense. It's more an as needed basis. I haven't used it for any interview or resume prep because I just have some of my own mentors that I prefer to use over AI, but I can absolutely see how it would be a great tool for that. Um, and like I said before, we used it a lot for actually machine learning and using it to generate coding scripts for spatial analysis and things of the sort. And of course, you can't rely on it entirely. You have to make your own edits and everything, but it definitely speeds up the process of the research and sometimes the writing component as well, which is super helpful.
I love that. And from a handshake standpoint, we've been sort of seeing a lot around this topic of skills based hiring, right? And Amber, I'm going to start with you. When you're thinking about like your skills, whether it's technical, creative, even like interpersonal ones, right? How are you starting to try to go about showcasing those skills beyond just a resume during the hiring process?
So, as a marketing major who wants to get more into the social media marketing side of things, I've leaned heavily on submitting a creative portfolio in addition to just my resume that shows real examples of my work. Because on your resume, you can list whatever you want as bullet points, but using the portfolio to show pictures of feeds I've managed, analytics screenshots, or just different campaign concepts allows me to just demonstrate how, yes, I can say I can do this, but I can also show you how I put it into action. As AI has started to take over more of those repetitive tasks, the skills that matters the most are the ones that are harder to demonstrate just on a resume, like creativity or critical thinking.
And what about you, Sydney?
I would say that I usually try and pull from some of my unique experiences to, as I guess, as examples of my skills and of certain situations I've been in. As I mentioned before, I was a beekeeper for 2 years, which is totally random, and everybody loves to hear about that. So things like that I have kind of in the back pocket. But to actually demonstrate the skills and the experience that I bring to these geography positions, to my agricultural experience. It can just speak to a lot of different hats that I've worn. Um, and on the more technical side, we also can show our portfolios, the different maps that I've made, the coding that I've done, the statistical analysis. Of results that I have, and presenting that more on a research side is how I would demonstrate my technical skills there. And I think a lot of that comes back to in interviews specifically, what questions the interviewers are asking me too, because I can't just randomly pull these things up. So I love to be able to talk about these more niche experiences, so that I can show you how well-rounded of a candidate I am.
Amazing. And wow, time has just absolutely flown by. It's kind of insane. I've got two final questions for the both of you. We'll start off with Sydney on this question, and Amber would love to hear your response to it as well. After both of you are sort of focusing your studies on various industries, when you're looking at employers who use AI, Is this something that you value when you're looking for jobs? And we'll start with Sydney on this one.
I think it depends the capacity to which they're using AI. If it seems like from the job description and from the company website and any LinkedIn posts I see, if it seems like AI is an an overwhelming topic for them, I'm a little more wary, honestly. Again, I think when companies really shift the full focus to AI, it just going back to the human versus laborer thing, it just kind of shows me sometimes that maybe you're going to try and replace me with AI if I get this position, because we've seen that happening in so many fields, versus when companies maybe integrate it a little bit, but honestly, when they have a a statement or a page about how they're using AI, and maybe more specific areas in which they're integrating that. I love to know what you're using it for, rather than just kind of seeing it in the background and not having an explanation for it. Um, because again, that honesty and transparency is key when you're hiring.
I totally feel that. And Amber, how about you?
Yeah, I definitely think AI is something that a lot of employers now are using, and it is really beneficial for the employees. Especially in marketing and communications, AI can help speed up and even spark creativity when it comes to stuff like brainstorming, editing drafts, or just analyzing data, which does allow me to spend more time on strategy, creativity, storytelling. So, again, like Sydney said, when companies share how they're using AI, and do encourage employees to use it to help them improve their work and their productivity, it can be really beneficial and make them a little bit more attractive as an employer compared to a different employer who may completely prohibit the use of AI for certain tasks.
Love that. And super quickly, last question for the both of you. And Amber, we'll start with you with this question. If you could give employers one piece of advice when it comes to recruiting students, that could be job descriptions, career fairs, it could be about anything, what would that be?
When it comes to recruiting students still in college or getting ready to graduate, my biggest piece of advice would be to focus more on the potential that the applicant has. For example, they may not be able to check every box in the job description just because they haven't had those years of experience yet, but they may still be doing hands on work, whether it's through volunteer opportunities or their clubs, that just may not necessarily be seen as professional, but they're still getting that experience in a different way. So, just really taking a look at all the different areas a student is involved in and really trying to understand what their potential could be. Are they eager to learn? Is this somewhere that they can see themselves thriving and continuing to move up in the corporate ladder? Could really help companies get a wider candidate pool and just encourage more students to apply. Just because they don't have 2+ years of experience, they could still be just as good of a worker and have amazing potential.
And Sydney, how about you?
This might be a really basic answer, but I'm sure with Amber's experience, she can attest to this. Have a social media presence. You want to have a memorable social media presence. I am on social media all the time, and I see companies on social media too. It's not just for friends. My advice is make it relatable. Try and appeal to Gen Z. I know that can be a little complicated sometimes, but even as simple as doing a silly video trend or a silly post and trying to portray your company through that. Some companies like Duolingo is a great example of this. They have a really funny social media and they have their mascot, which is their branding, at the forefront of that. And I'm not an expert in marketing. I don't know the first thing about that, but I know that it caught my attention. And it has me more interested in their company and what they're doing. And I know that maybe as somebody in HR on this call or somebody who's a recruiter might not have access to their social media. But in terms of getting our attention, even just having a basic Instagram where you're saying, "Hey, we're going to be at this career fair, or we're going to be tabling on campus at the student center." I might see that there versus I might have missed your email that the student body sent out, or whatever it may be. It's just a little bit more, I think, of an accessible way to reach students. And I know that some generations might see it as cliche, or might be annoyed at trying to set that up, but I think it's well worth it, and you'll reach a lot of people that way.
Wow. I wish this was a panel in real life because you both would be just hearing all the applause for the amazing answers that you both shared. So thank you, Sydney. Thank you, Amber, for your honest takes on the job search experience. I hope everyone listening was able to glean some useful feedback to fine tune your approach this spring. If you enjoyed this student panel, be sure to save your seat for Handshake Access 2026, our flagship virtual event happening May 6th to 7th. And you'll be hearing from more students at different points in their career journey, education partners, and employers just like McKinsey and Company, Anthropic, Google, Salesforce, and more on the future of hiring. So make sure you scan that QR code here or head to the resources tab in the top of your navigation bar to register for that event. But that does it for us. Thank you again so much for everyone in the audience. Sorry we couldn't get to your questions, but those chat messages were super appreciated. So until next time, we'll see you then. Peace.